We are live. However, I'm hearing myself, and I don't want to hear myself.
It is such a bipartisan division when it comes to those different items. But let's look at what tariffs have done. We have
Guess not.
We've been working on trade legislation throughout my 3 years as chairman of the Ways and Means. If you just look at most recently in the last month, we reinstituted and extended the Haiti and the AGOA trade preferences program. So we're in the middle of all the different trading aspects. If you look at the big beautiful bill, we addressed de minimis when it came to China and other packages coming in the United States. We're going to continue to do so.
Tariffs or not, the debt is still exploding because, in large part, the one big beautiful bill, Representative Smith. Are we done cutting the deficit? Is this it for now?
We can't be done cutting the deficit. When you look at a national security threat, it's definitely our fiscal house. When you're looking at approaching $40 trillion in national debt, we have to be looking at ways to trim the budget 24/7.
So are you then, with all of this, disappointed in a lot of your Republican colleagues? There have been some, Senator Paul, Representative Bacon, who publicly
got all my issues
applauded the Supreme Court ruling. Representative Smith, it doesn't seem like there's cohesion at this moment.
Well, Senator Paul didn't vote for the big beautiful bill either. So there's always division within the Republican Party. But guess what? There's bigger division in the Democrat Party because Hakeem Jeffries is not even the minority leader of the House. His liberal base affects all of his policies, his decisions. That's why we're in a government shutdown right now with the Department of Homeland Security and why they're not funding TSA agents in the airport, why they're not funding FEMA, and why they're not funding the U.S. Coast Guard.
Yeah, there's a lot of backlash this week.
Let's see what Yahoo Finance is saying.
All real money, right? Yeah. Be it gold or other, long-standing terms of real non-fiat money are valuable because people have gotten together and decided they are valuable at a psychological level, right? And you're seeing that forming around Bitcoin, right? And certainly the Bitcoin has been around for a long time. Now, I do think that there are miles and miles of lesser coin that will be washed out as the sector evolves. But Bitcoin will be here to stay through time.
Let's get to some themes you point out, because I like these. Crypto, you say, is becoming financial infrastructure. What does that mean in plain English? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, that's right. It's not just Bitcoin when you think about crypto. It's also stablecoin and other forms of transactional crypto coin. So these crypto coins have, significantly better settlement times than traditional money transfers.
Settlement
and they allow
times,
people to store wealth, to move wealth,
unless you're talking about just transactions.
Very specifically on the blockchain. So from my point of view, the adoption of crypto assets, stablecoin and Bitcoin, is accelerating. You're seeing more corporations use it, and you're seeing more financial institutions build out the plumbing to facilitate those types of transactions.
Let's talk about some names
the thing is,
ways to play things. Bitcoin.
The thing is with Bitcoin, don't you know, is that, when it first came along, it came to disrupt the entire financial zeitgeist of the world, you know what I mean? And I guarantee you, the guy who created it, Satoshi, he's likely dead. Comes in, drops a crazy advanced alien technology to the world. I'm not suggesting actual extraterrestrials here, but not discounting it, but that's not what I'm going to. But just comes out of nowhere, is a digital genius, a programming genius to create this, and it shakes the entire world up. 15 years later, had you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin 15 years ago, that $1,000 would now be worth over $1 billion. That's insane. Now, what's driving that? Obviously, it's only worth something. It's only worth as much as people are willing to pay, right? Yeah, well, it's survived this long. And you know the old adage, if you can't beat them, join them? Dude, the entire financial community has tried to beat Bitcoin. And they've always failed miserably. So now, what do? You see mass adoption everywhere. They couldn't beat it. So now they're joining it. And they're trying to control it. And centralize it. The whole point of it is to be decentralized. It's like open ledger. You can't manipulate it. And that's what those in charge don't like about it and are trying to implement. So while mainstream adoption is good, keep in mind, just because it's being adopted in the mainstream doesn't necessarily make it a good thing as far as their plans are concerned. So watch out for that. Watch out for all these government stable coins that they want to bring about. Bitcoin is the way. Only Bitcoin. Now, well, there are some good redesigns out there. Ethereum was meant to be a redesign of Bitcoin. Some coins out there have some utility, but as you can see right below here, that is a heat map of... I can't say for a fact that that's all that exists, because there are literally over 1 million different crypto coins out there. And by and large, the majority of them are garbage and have no utility. They have to have a purpose. They have to be able to do something. And of course, they need to be secure. And then, of course, you've got the naysayers. And these are the same fools that were arguing about how the internet was a fad back in the 90s, Obviously, it's not the same exact people. It's just the same mentality. It's like, dude, the cat's out of the bag. It's never going away. It's never going to zero. Even if it does, it'll come back, It'll never go away short of a global EMP. And what's the first thing you think humanity would do if we had a global EMP that knocked everything electronic out? What's the first thing you think we would do? Rebuild. There isn't an EMP large enough to shut down the entire planet. And even if there were, we would rebuild. I made a video, a case for Bitcoin. It says part 1, like I'm supposed to come back and make it part 2. And I meant for it to be an ongoing thing. But yeah, the message, I put it all in that first video, But the message is clear. It's Bitcoin is the best thing to happen to finance in the last 1,000 years, really. There's a video out there, I think it's either like God Bless Bitcoin or something about Bitcoin, where in the beginning of the movie they discuss how money came to be, and if that doesn't sell you on Bitcoin, then your brain isn't operating at full capacity. All right, let's go live to Bloomberg for market opening, for the bell ringing.
Trading day, balance of power at 1 and 5 Eastern, only on Bloomberg. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We'll show you what's happening in ETFs like no one else. ETF IQ, only on Bloomberg.
Heat map. All right, market bell should be coming. Let's go.
Moments away from the start of trading, you are watching Bloomberg Open Interest. I'm Danny Berger. Matt Miller is off today. It is a snow day. We're down 0.2% for the S&P 500. The Nasdaq 100, that underperforms, down 0.4%. The Russell 2000, that also underperforms. A lot of this is based on the uncertainty over the weekend of ramping up of tariffs from 10 to 15%, which is the highest amount that you can do in Section 122 tariffs. Here, we have a construction group, ConExpo. I have to say, I am so impressed about both the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq. Look, it is a full crowd, and it is a snow day. These people had to trudge through mountains of blizzards. So well done to you. It is the Association of African American Financial Advisors ringing the bell down at the Nasdaq. So congratulations on multiple fronts. Let's get to your stocks to watch this morning. Look at what Novo Nordisk is doing this morning. This is the ADRs, down more than 15%. Its next generation obesity shot delivered less weight loss than Eli Lilly's rival in a head-to-head. So you can see Eli Lilly is ramping up off the back of that. Merck, down slightly, not a lot of action. It is splitting its business into 2 units, a cancer drug unit and a specialty non-cancer drug unit. We're also keeping an eye on the majority of stocks this morning. Again, it is this uncertainty. You can see a lot of the consumer companies gap now 2.5%, because now we have across the board 15% tariffs on U.S. imports. The European Union is poised to freeze the ratification process of its trade deal with the U.S. following that Supreme Court decision on so-called reciprocal tariffs. Let's bring in Bernstein Private Wealth Chief Investment Officer Alex Chaloff on all of this. Alex, what has changed for you in your 2026 outlook, given Friday's ruling by the Supreme Court and the tariffs announced by this president over the weekend?
I think uncertainty is the new word, Danny. I think chaos would be an extreme, but certainly uncertainty is something that we have to live with. Where
what is up with
we
pounds
and others had planned out for a specific...
Like they have been sucking it.
And I guess the sense amongst the analysts that it is going to obviously outperform when it comes to growth.
Well, but maybe we're at the beginning of how their advertising theme is going to be.
Right, that's what...
Let's go to Yahoo, see what they're saying.
Be doing in this backdrop. They were already confused on the tower front. Now they had this tossed on their plate. I feel as though they're like waiting for the next shoe to drop.
I think CEOs are going to hold off, waiting for some form of clarity, which they're not going to get. This is chaos reigns. President Trump missed a golden opportunity to reset his economic policy around investment in jobs instead of
NVIDIA's got a nice candle.
The tariff policy is not working, and our balance
up
of
a
trade
whole
is at
dollar.
all-time high. If he thinks that's important. Jobs are kind of muddling along. Inflation hit a top high for the year of 2.9. So I think we really need to refocus on the economy. He had an emotional response. He should have stepped back for a few days, considered his advisors, and then decided, hey, this is an opportunity for me, State of the Union coming up. I'm going to get American companies start investing again. If I were a CEO, I'll tell you, I would hold off because I have no idea what the tariffs have. They changed 6 times in the weekend. So I have no idea by a country what it is. So I can't even run the numbers. I don't know whether to invest in the United States or a factory overseas, how much to ship, how much to import. It's chaotic. And that's the last thing. Business people want 2 things, Brian. They want predictability and stability. They get neither. So I think they're going to hold off. And I think the big investments, let's face it, have been in AI. But the rest of the economy, companies are not really investing.
I'm back. Don't you go anywhere.
Bill, is it too much? Is it too much of a stretch to call? I mean, you ticked off some very important things. Economic growth is cooled. Inflation is still, I don't think it's come down as fast as the president would like. Is it too much to call this a Trump slump?
I think that could be coming ahead in 26. Now, they've got some, in the big, beautiful bill, they got some tax benefits that will flow to people. So you're going to see investment from the top. But I worry about this K-shaped economy. All the people on the bottom are going to be suffering. And they're not going to have jobs. And companies are not going to be hiring a lot. They're going to hold off, see what happens with AI and what happens with tariff policy and investments. So I think you'll see, frankly, the job increase looked great last month, 130,000, but 120,000 of that was in healthcare and private education. Manufacturing overall for 25 was way down. So I don't think the Trump policy of
China
trying to pressure
Intelligence
people
Information
to invest
System.
in the United States manufacturing.
Look at this this nonsense. Yeah, be sure to understand that these buy and sell indicators, these are indicators that I have, and they just show up on every chart I pull up. Not everything should be traded. Like, here's the crypto market cap, like entire total crypto market cap. You're not going to trade on this. So, don't pay attention to those signals, that long and short entry. That's more for stuff like individual stocks and cryptos like Bitcoin. Right now you should short Bitcoin according to this. Not financial advice, of course. But this China Intelligence Information System, this is hilarious. Look at this. It's showing that it's up almost 2 million% in a day. Wow, that's ridiculous. These are the top performers of the day. Oh, let's see what's dying the most. nettalk.com. Never heard of you. A lot of these I've never heard of. Sort by volume. Golden Triangle Ventures. Huh? That's got the most in today. This is everything in alphabetical order. But let's get out of that. Let's get out of that. Nvidia got a great candle, great start for the day. It needs to go ahead and run up to its predicted price point. I think that's like 287 is what their target is. I'm just scouring the news for something interesting. COMEX silver delivery intentions. That's the one I want to check out. Let's check out silver. Just give me a second. I am not entirely versed in TradingView, but yeah. Markets. Come on! S&P 500's kicking ass today. The dollar has definitely slumped since that's since Trump's tariffs went. Crypto heat map still sucking it. Pretty sure we're in the bear market, despite what some people would like to believe. We are definitely sucking it. I mean, overall, the market looks okay, right? Nvidia is looking great. The dollar looks like shit. But as you can see by my hoodie, here I am plugging my own merch. This is my design. Dump the dollar. Bitcoin is the way. You know, I'm not just saying this because it's in my store. Look, I make like $2 or $3 off of them if you buy one. I really don't care. But that's my design, and I like it. But the hoodie is very... Oh, yeah, it's got a little Bitcoin logo right there. But the hoodie's ridiculously comfortable. U.S. stock futures decline as global tariffs rise to 15% following major Supreme Court ruling on trade authority that we've all already heard about. I want to find some silver news. Palantir down 5%. And Palantir, of course, I got a call on that too. That's down. My call is down like ridiculous. Looks like HSBC, ADM, and JP Morgan are loading up on silver. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, what do you make of that? Welcome. Welcome, only person to come so far. This is a small channel. All right, let's check out the stock heat map. Overall, we got half and half here, right? Nvidia is killing it this morning. Look at that nice candle it started off with, but it's coming back down a little bit. That's not bad for the beginning of the day. Now, the stock heat map, a little bit of everything. Your crypto heat map, however. Crypto is sucking it. Overall coins, stock screener. Nvidia is a clear winner for the day. Well, there are other... there was some Chinese company that's up like 2 million%. Absolutely ridiculous. Some shit you never heard of. But Nvidia's doing well. Apple, all the big ones you would expect, they're doing fine. Microsoft taking a little hit. Tesla, nothing special. Let's take a look at Tesla. As usual, up and down, up and down. This right here at the bottom is not the typical thing that you see on other people's charts. This is RSI, Relative Strength Index. And if you're not familiar, when your RSI is low, you are going down. Usually about 60 or 70, for crypto at least, is the sweet spot for it running. But once it goes past 70, it's just a matter of time before you're going to have a big pullback. So it's a good thing to keep in mind if you're trading, derivatives or something. Those numbers vary depending on what you're looking at, but by and large, between 50 and 70 is a good RSI for up. My portfolio is shit. Let's see what silver's doing. Well, SLV at least. The silver futures. Doing good this morning. Looking good, man. About to break that 80 again. I've got a hell of a prediction for silver. In fact, that's the prediction I intend to make. If the goal is reached, Euronext Dublin delisting notification. HSBC Continental Europe been delisted. Ouch. Walmart will pay out 121% of annual bonuses to corporate staff. Well, way to go, Walmart. Way to take care of the little employees. Just the corporate people. We don't need to worry about the little guys. The people doing all the work. just checking out news stories. Nvidia's in the news, as usual. Nvidia price target maintained with a $275 per share by KeyBank. There's no news story, it's just a headline. Graybull Rescue launches Operation Condor Reach, deploying to Mexico amid escalating violence in Mexico, narco-terrorism threat environment. Yeah, they're not too happy, the cartels. They are not too happy. I'm pretty sure some important dude was killed. We probably did that, I'm not entirely sure. Graybull Rescue, a veteran-led nonprofit specializing in high-risk humanitarian operations in war zones and denied areas. Wow. They've launched a rapid response evacuation mission to rescue Americans. How about rescue everybody? Or is it all Americans? Trapped in Mexico amid extreme cartel violence and narco-terrorist activity. Unprecedented violence in response to the targeting of Senor cartel leader El Mencho. That's who was killed. Hundreds of Americans trapped in Mexico. Yeah. That's not a place an American really should be going right about now, because you are a target. If you've got any money and it's obvious you've got money, those people will kidnap you and hold you for ransom. And right now they've got more reason to be doing that kind of stuff than anything. All the boats that we've blown out of the water. Obviously this guy, El Mencho, dying. Graybull Rescue Operation has deployed under the operation codename Condor Reach to evacuate Americans and allied nationals from the war zone of Mexico. Man, as long as the cartels are in charge, which they basically are, Mexico will always be a war zone. Graybull Rescue deploys teams of elite U.S. Special Operations and Intelligence Community veterans to plan and execute disciplined movement under dynamic security conditions, saving lives at the speed of need. What does that mean? All right, moving on. Well, let's see. What is oil doing? Yeah, I'm not very versed in, not as versed as I should be in TradingView. There's just so much to it. Like, it's such a great program. I don't need to. I want oil, baby. Imperial oil relative valuation viewed as stretched. RBC Capital Markets cools on Imperial Oil, lowering its recommendation to underperform from sector perform after the stock's relatively out. What? Who wrote this? Lowering its recommendation. I'm reading it verbatim. Lowering its recommendation to underperform from sector perform after the stock's relatively outperformance. Yeah, non-native English speaker wrote this. So bear with me. It now sees a disconnect between the share price and fundamentals and argues there are higher anticipated relative returns elsewhere. Yeah. Looks like BlackRock was raised to a buy from neutral. Well, BlackRock, huh? I think I have a BlackRock call. I think. Is that what this is? No, I got a Blackstone call, like a moron. I should have some BlackRock. Right, welcome. There is hardly anybody here, but this is a small channel. The S&P as a whole is up 3.32 points. Silver's doing well. No, that's not what I want. This is the S&P. Yeah. What's the Dow Jones doing? Where are you at? Dow Jones Industrial. Nvidia, the clear winner for the day. Amazon and Microsoft are eating it. There's IBM. Weird. Walmart doing okay. Let's go back to the S&P. We'll do Russell 1000. How about? There's an awful lot of red. But depending on how you look at it, all U.S. companies. That's a pretty fairly mixed bag, isn't it? Go back to the S&P. If there's any stock in particular you'd like me to take a look at, just say so in the chat. Look at your crypto heat map. This is just sucking it. After last night's crash, the entire market cap, I mean, this looks exactly like Bitcoin. And the entire market cap of crypto, well, it's because Bitcoin makes up a large portion of that market cap. Yeah, I think Bitcoin holds over, like, it's like 1.8 trillion of that 2.25 market cap. So yeah, this is basically the same chart. But it looks like we're getting a little bit of a jump on Bitcoin. Which coin is doing the best? BB. Look at that. Nice 628% return today. It's these meme coins, I swear. What the hell is that? That's ridiculous. Let's shorten this time span out till just the last, what, 3 hours-ish? 4 hours? It keeps jumping up and down the same amount. That's not even a chart I can even, like, what? What are you supposed to do with that? Long entry, yeah, I'd say. You got a long entry here. You got a short entry here. That's pretty good. Or that's pretty easy. But 628% or whatever it was. Yeah, that's ridiculous. What other coin is killing it today? 53% Bulla, Zeus. I've never heard any of these. But that's how it goes. There's over 1 million different coins, right? And this only takes into account 2,900 of them. What's the biggest loser? CDG project down 99.9%. Sucking it. Ouch. Well, I hope there's no CDG bag holders anywhere near me. Now, you're bad luck. Right. Looks like NVIDIA's doing its best to push past this 100 and it needs to break this 193. Well, they just set a new target. So, you know, people are going to jump in. And that's what's causing that little run right there. NVIDIA. World's largest or most valuable company, I should say. Let's take a look at something here. I just want to see what that market cap is. not receiving enough. Apparently, my speed sucks. Let's hear what they're saying over at Yahoo
and Carrie,
Finance.
that's what makes its way into the brand, and that's, I think, what our customers love about it is they're following these real people trying to figure out how to build a brand, how to build a business, and they don't really know what they're doing, but they're figuring it out.
$5 trillion market
You
cap.
recently closed a Minnesota store briefly.
Yep.
And you put out a post on LinkedIn explaining the decision. Take me inside of that, because I talked to a ton of CEOs, and I would say the past year they've gone quiet on speaking out on these type of issues. How did you know, you know what, guys, we need to take a stand. We need to say something here and do something.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously were talking to our team about it,
well.
our full team about it, for a couple weeks. And,
Tesla.
Tuesday morning came.
Tesla has a $1.5 trillion market cap. So this is owned by the richest guy in the world. Well, isn't Elon? Yeah, Elon's up there. I don't know if he's the richest. I don't know. That shit fluctuates, right? It goes back and forth. Nvidia is $5 trillion. Most valuable company in the world, right there. And they just got a price point update of about $80 higher than it is. So yeah, look at that right there. RSI spiked this morning right at 9:30. It's everybody dumping into Nvidia. So it was 270 to 290. That was the price. I think it was 287.
One country trying to get through this.
I want to smoke. Coinbase is down.
We are in such an incredibly exciting moment with AI. It is really the most profound technology of our lifetimes, and I think it has the potential to help us rethink literally everything. The potential for economic impact, societal benefit is honestly boundless. When we think about the economic impact for Europe in particular, it's around a 1.2 trillion euro estimate of the productivity growth that can be unlocked. This platform shift that we are living through, I think, is going to create untold amounts of value for the world, but also for businesses and for economies, which is why I'm incredibly optimistic in this moment for Europe, but also for the whole world.
How do you think about
Let me know how
or safety for some
video's
of the
doing. I keep getting messages
No, I
from YouTube
hear the
or
anxiety,
from
and I
OBS
understand the
saying my
anxiety
signal sucks and
about
video's
jobs.
choppy.
I think that we are certainly going to live through a massive
I
transition
had another
about how
stream
people
go for
learn to
Bitcoin,
work
but I cut
alongside
that out
these
just
tools.
because
I mean, the reality is I do think
the
there'll be
internet kinda
some number
sucks
of
here.
jobs that are displaced. I think it is a smaller number, maybe.
I am on a
Future headlines at this hour. U.S. has the godfather of AI and his black leather jacket, Jensen. China has rare earth. It's time to make a deal.
I'm less concerned about building a mythology.
I think at the end of the day, common sense will prevail.
OpenAI valuation, $500 billion US.
$500 billion happens to be how much Elon Musk apparently is worth right now.
Co-presenting partner, HDFC Securities, powering India's investments.
Yeah, commercials. What are they saying?
The U.S. Treasury market is sort of like the biggest player in the global markets and in the global trade negotiations.
You can't have the tariff one day and the exemption on the next day and expect people to make medium to longer term investment decisions.
Yep.
India is also trying to make inroads. Is there room for both India and China?
Let's go back to Bloomberg. Oh, that nice music.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by JTV.com.
No, it's not CBS.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Municipal workers in New York have hit the streets with shovels as a historic snowstorm barrels its way up through the Northeast. Forecasters say it could reach historic proportions. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill.
Dummy, for Christ's sake, that idiot. America, shit, I forget what I named it. Did make some notes before. Yeah. Yeah, what do y'all think about Mom Dummy? How about there's no ID to vote? But you need one for shoveling snow, apparently. Yeah, the video I did on that was New York will be the next Detroit. So Mom Dummy's new budget is $10 billion higher than that of Florida, the entire state of Florida. Yeah, but Florida has 3 times the amount of citizens. And that's a reflection of the relative cost of everything in New York City versus the entire state of Florida. That's insane. Yeah, you can't get more out of the system than you put into it. And right now we're getting a first-hand look at how socialism would be very bad. You can't just drop it into a capitalist situation. It will not thrive at all. In fact, it'll destroy the situation over there. Like, it'll destroy the existing system. That's not to say that socialism doesn't work in some places. You know, you can cite whatever country you want. There are a lot of different factors involved that those countries are involved in that makes it to where socialism would work. However, the problem is America's too big. You drop socialism nationwide, and this country would eat itself. It would be eaten alive. I mean, you can't factor out greed. So with socialism, you have to trust those in charge to do what's right, and they seldom do. That's why the USSR collapsed. Corruption. And now it's the oligarchs that run the country, basically. Boy, I'm getting alert after alert after alert. Let's see what Yahoo is saying.
In terms of risk, this is one of the places they've consistently been going, and we see gold pushing higher above $5,200 an ounce, up about 2.5%.
Man.
Of course, one of the other big things to watch this week doesn't just have to do with politics. It has to do with NVIDIA. The company is going to be reporting its earnings, and we will be, of course, watching those numbers very closely, not just because of NVIDIA itself, but because of the rockiness of the AI trade as of late. Right now, NVIDIA shares are trading higher by about 1.7%. They haven't done a heck of a lot this year. They're slightly higher. Antoine Schiebon is joining us now, New Street Research Technology Infrastructure Analyst. He covers NVIDIA. Antoine, it's good to see you. So, as I said, a lot seems to be riding on NVIDIA, right? As it usually is. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of analysis that even if it once again comes out and knocks things out of the park, it's going to be tough for the stock to move higher. But do you agree?
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's worth $5 trillion.
I mean, the demand signals are very strong. We've seen, like hyperscalers getting up CapEx very significantly. That resulted in material revisions to expectations. On top of that, you have OpenAI now who's increasing their revenue projections. That also means they're going to spend more cash as well. The forecast, I think, was increased by over 2x. Now, I think you're going to have, this year's supply constraints, very strong supply constraints across the board. In particular, memory is in very tight supply right now. GPUs need a lot of that memory, and I think investors will likely be watching out for any details, on how this could impact shipments.
Yeah, I just love how These people just run their mouth about stuff without any actual information coming out of their mouths.
Pediatric medications. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
GoFundMe for Eric Dane's family is up to almost $350,000 less than a week after he died following a short battle with ALS. GoFundMe for the family of actor James Vanderbeek now tops $2.7 million. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS.
Why is anybody giving money to people who already have money?
Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney. How do you think the Fed is looking at tariffs, the uncertainty of tariffs?
Let's take a look at the sectors and how they performed.
A lot of investors getting whipsawed every day by news events.
Like, why would anybody give money to these celebrities that start the GoFundMes? Why? People who have no money giving the little they have to those who have plenty? All right, NVIDIA's doing well, as per usual. That price point, the target price point they've given is the main catalyst of that. NVIDIA's going to be around for a while. You realize everything they're doing in AI is just a drop in the bucket for all the other stuff they do. For starters, I mean, everybody probably knows of NVIDIA because of their, the video cards that they make. So all gamers out there, that would be enough to make NVIDIA a very valuable company. But no, on top of that, those same video cards are what's used to mine Bitcoin. So you got that, and then the AI part of the segment of it, their company. Yeah, NVIDIA is the most valuable company in the world, with a market cap of about $5 trillion. That's insane, man. That's like 3 or 4 times the value of Tesla. Yeah, your mother with all these damn alerts. I have YouTube Premium I pay for. Somebody commented on one of my videos, nice con job, on my tariffs video. Huh? What is that supposed to mean? All I did was mention the money involved in the whole tariff thing. We pay out way more money to other countries as far as the tariffs are concerned, I made a video, tariffs and balance. About how much. I'm going to pull it up, but only because, I don't want to get the numbers wrong. So, let's see. Where are you at? Tariffs and balance. There we go. In 2024, U.S. companies paid $370 billion to foreign governments for tariffs and similar excise. That same year, foreign multinationals paid the U.S. $57 billion via similar fees. We have 1/4 of the world's GDP. Yep. They account for the other 3/4, yet we pay out 6 times more than we receive. Exactly. This is precisely why Trump wanted to institute tariffs. Now, is it right or is it wrong? I'm not getting into that. But the point is we pay out, our countries, we pay out way more, 6 times more than the rest of the world does. Yet we're responsible for 1/4 of the world's GDP. Make it make sense, bro. Now, we don't need sweeping tariffs across the board because ultimately the citizens pay for those. But at first, the corporations that are involved in purchasing materials overseas, they're the ones that have to initially pay those tariffs, and then they pass those savings on down to you. Now, with Trump's tariffs being shot down, if they're talking about a refund for all the tariffs they took in, those refunds are going to go to the corporations because they're the ones who paid the tariffs. They pass those costs on down to you by raising prices. Should the government pay the citizens that money? Because corporations aren't going to lower their prices. They're going to pocket any kind of refund that the government gives them. They're not going to lower their prices. When's the last time you saw anything go down after it's been going up for a while? That's not what anything does in this country. This is the consumer nation of the world. $5 trillion. That blows my mind. They're currently at $192. Well, they got a target of another $100, about $80. That P&E is awesome. Unless I'm just stupid. Wow. You're telling me out of $5 trillion in value, you've only got $11 billion in debt? So they have 6 times. Where's the rest of that money? Well, that right there, that's called growth. And I do believe we've got earnings coming soon. Yeah, Wednesday, NVIDIA's earnings. So we will probably be live for that. And then, of course, Tuesday, tomorrow, we have State of the Union address. This is going to be interesting. I'm sure Trump already had a speech written, now had to go back and change it because, watch, he's going to talk about tariffs the entire time. Let's place some bets. How many times he's going to mention Biden? Hey, I don't care if you're for Trump or against him. You got to admit, he's funny. I mean, God, what Trump did for the news. He's keeping the news companies and all the late night talk shows and morning shows, keeping those guys in business. That's all they ever talk about is Trump. Woo! Crypto heat map is sucking it. Stock heat map not doing so bad. I'm going to go have a smoke because, you know, there's so many people in here. Smoke break. BRB. I'm going to give you some old coffee while I'm out. I'm back. Oh. Whoops! I guess I could have left something on for us to listen to. Okay, so it's in Bloomberg. Last night's drop was crazy. Look at that. It dropped like $2,000 in a matter of, what is this? About an hour and 20 minutes. Right now would be a great time to get into NVIDIA.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, Bloomberg Television, and the Bloomberg Business app. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm John Tucker, the Bloomberg Newsroom, with this Bloomberg Business Flash. Well, the tariff situation has triggered mass confusion, and what do markets hate? Uncertainty and confusion. So they're lower. President Trump responding to the court ruling Friday by imposing new across-the-board 15% levy on U.S. imports. Yep. So again, that's sowing fresh confusion around the global trade. Shares of NVIDIA, actually one of the bright spots today, up just about 1%, advancing before the earnings report that we're going to see on Wednesday. And then Novo Nordisk, the next-generation obesity shot, delivered less weight loss than Eli Lilly's rival blockbuster.
Listen to this. $225 million gone with one typo. Back in 2005, a Japanese trader tried to sell one share of a company for 610,000 yen. he accidentally typed it as 610,000 shares for 1 yen each. Tokyo Stock Exchange's system didn't catch the error, and his firm lost roughly $225 million. They tried to cancel it, but it was too late. It caused so much damage that the president of Tokyo Stock Exchange resigned. The most expensive typo in the history of finance was just 20 years ago. The stock market's been around for how long? I mean, people have been investing in corporatized ideas for a long time. For a long time, since before the stock market actually existed. Electricity came along and really kicked all that in its ass, and the rest is history, bro. What is CNBC saying?
Pakistan has carried out airstrikes. What do you think is fueling these tensions since the withdrawal of the US forces, and how is it going to impact the region?
I will not get into the details of what happened while Taliban was still fighting the Ghani government and they were being backed by Pakistan. I would start with the withdrawal of US forces, and in August 2021 we've seen how in the middle of that withdrawal a big attack was mounted, suicide attack was mounted by ISKP, Islamic State Khorasan province, there, and thereafter we've seen strings of attacks by ISKP on Taliban senior leadership, in mosques, on public congregations. And Taliban has they haven't shied away from naming Pakistani security establishment of, backing the ISKP against Afghanistan so as to destabilize. On the other hand, Pakistan has also blamed Afghanistan for supporting TTP and the Baluch insurgents. So in that sense, I think the daggers are drawn and both sides are blaming each other. I think that's the way that the tensions have become very serious. And these tensions might become even more serious in times to come and destabilize the entire region.
Right. Now, in terms of how is Taliban 2.0 different from Taliban 1.0, what are some of the changes that you are seeing?
I will name two. There are many. And in this book, I have discussed with them, including how Taliban 2.0 sees itself. One is that they reached out to the other countries through their office in Doha.
Taliban. Let's see, what are you saying, Yahoo?
With a farmer in the wake of the Supreme Court decision on tariffs.
A lot of red. Microsoft eating shit. Let's see what Microsoft's saying. Wow, look at that debt. Yeah, that's more debt quarter after quarter. Wow. Damn, 6 months they're down 22%. Crazy. Well, I mean, it's Microsoft. Ouch. Apple's got it all over Microsoft, right? Just imagine if what's his face was still alive. Around. What are you gonna say? Just imagine if he was still alive. Get out. Yeah, I'd say Apple's a buy. Like, there's Apple, there's Microsoft. Apple, Microsoft. silver. Looks like it's still struggling to get up to that $80 mark. I've got a prediction for silver. It is not done by any stretch of the imagination. Nvidia and Apple are the two wieners of the day. Broadcom. You want to see something funny? See the biggest gainer of the day? Bang! 2,000,000%. Novacom, 20,000%. Wow. These are all sub-penny stocks, you know. Berkshire Hathaway with the most expensive stock price, $747,000 per share. Are you out of your mind? How many shares do you have? Yeah, this chart's going to be all over the place. Just imagine what a 5% drop would do to that price. Those candles.
You're watching Market Catalyst. I'm Julie Hyman, and we have been discussing the fallout from the Supreme Court's decision to revoke President Trump's authority to impose tariffs under a particular act, but then he turned to some other statutes in order to impose universal tariffs of 15%. One of the constituencies in the U.S. that has been hard hit by the tariffs have been farmers. And I want to bring in John Boyd Jr., National Black Farmers Association founder and president, to talk more about this. John, it's great to see you again. Of course, the administration had announced a $12 billion aid package for farmers because of the tariffs. Now there's some sort of changes to the tariffs. Talk to me about what you all know as farmers at this point, how all of this is going to affect you.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And we still see this as a huge victory for me and the NBFA. We stayed the course and to tell people that the president's tariffs was bad for America's farmers, that they were hurting America's farmers, and we lost $55 billion in soybeans alone. Due to President Trump imposing tariffs to China. And he went to Iowa several weeks ago and said that the $12 billion for the relief package had been paid out to America's farmers. And asked those in the audience, had they received checks and people put their hands together? Not a dime has been paid of that $12 billion. The president went from a $15 billion bailout proposal, and then he said that we would get $12 billion in December and November and December and January, February. And now I got an email that says that those payments, the sign-up period has been extended to April. So all in short, the president hasn't been truthful to the American public. We have not received the money, and that's what the president does. He says these things, and he's not held accountable. This was a hard no for the president, 6-3 from the Supreme Court, who generally rules in his favor. They said that his tariffs was illegal, and now he's trying to find other ways to put something else in another 150 days on a 10 or 15% tariffs. That's what he does. But in the short term, we won. It's a huge victory for us, and the Supreme Court, for the first time, told this president no.
So what does this mean, John, for products that you're selling into China, for example? Because it seems like the tariff rate will be, much lower than it had been under the other tariffs at 15%. So does that mean that that market is going to be more open to you all than it had been?
Well, first of all, this president has to be amenable to go out and rebuild those relationships. Those relationships are damaged with Canada. He's Canada, one of our best trading partners. The president has imposed tariffs on them and made it difficult for fertilizer and wheat and all those things to trade. Mexico, he's constantly doing something there, who's the number one purchaser of U.S. grown corn, and China, who was the number one purchaser of U.S. grown soybeans. Those relationships have to be rebuilt. And just, it wasn't that long ago, the president provided $40 billion to Argentina, and they undercut us and started selling soybeans directly to China. That's going to hurt the U.S. market. And then recently, the president wants to give us
whether we would actually try and force a regime shift or maybe just create a little bit more impetus for that to happen. I think our history with regime change is awful. On the other hand, right, the Middle East has been coalescing into a real market, into something where we're selling chips into the Saudis and other countries there. And Iran's kind of the last thorn in the side, both to us, to Israel, and even to much of the Middle East. So maybe that's where he's seeing this as an opportunity to kind of push this to the edge once and for all. And then we can have a Middle East that's maybe much more peaceful, can move along with the Abraham Accords, and can be much more, part of Western society.
Peter, thanks so much for joining us. Always appreciate getting your unique opinion. Peter Cheer, head of macro strategy at Academy Securities. And as the name implies, Academy Securities is owned, managed by a bunch of ex-military folks, by and large, ergo the Academy name, from the military academies. So they have a unique perspective on geopolitics and how it impacts global markets. And that's why we can go to Peter Cheer and ask him about kind of geopolitics and how that impacts markets here, because they really, as an institution,
unraveling complex global developments and what they mean for Indian business. Tune in to the Global Reset on CNBC TV 18 Prime.
Co-presenting partner, HDFC Securities, powering India's investments.
CNBC TV 18 Prime is your gateway to the global markets, your window to global business.
क्या हुआ? ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट में पैसे डालने हैं। ओटीपी आ गया। थैंक यू। शेयर का प्राइस बढ़ गया।
ये है इन्वेस्ट करने का एक तरीका और ये है इन्वेस्ट राइट का 3-in-1।
To market risks, read all the related documents carefully before investing.
That's the real hardship in what America's farmers are hearing. So I'm telling you that from a personal standpoint. A lot of people don't understand corn, wheat, and soybeans are still driven by the markets. And when the president imposed those tariffs, the markets, plummeted. The prices plummeted, and we didn't have a new outlet or new markets to sell soybeans. So the market became stagnant.
The thing about soybeans,
wasn't moving. Well, we have to wait and see how trade partners look at the ruling, but I hope they will look at it in a favorable way, the way that we see it.
That's our number one Monsanto thing, like this genetically engineered. It's our one of our number one cash crops. Like if you drive around rural America anywhere, you see, any agricultural area, what you mostly see is corn, soybeans, and cotton. That's because those are the three top Monsantos and the three top government subsidized crops. But the farmers have been getting ripped off. This is nothing new. Like by law, if you want to grow soybeans, you have to use Monsanto's genetically engineered seed that's got it's got the shit built in. It's got the Roundup built into it. It's crazy. This guy's still going at it. Yahoo.
But he said some ugly things about those Supreme Court justices and called them fools and all sorts of names. And those justices deserve an apology, too, that he appointed to the bench, that was properly vetted and appointed to the bench to serve. He selected those two, and he called them all of those names. It doesn't look good leadership stand-wise around the country to have the president
Dude, that's what Trump does. That's what he does. He's an asshole. I happen to think it's hilarious. Alright, what's the heat map doing, huh? Look at the crypto heat map. Sucking it. Overall, we've got a pretty 50-50 day. I mean, there's a lot more red now than there was earlier. Finance sector is dying. Retail trade, Walmart's the only one that's really standing out. Non-durables. Like silver struggling to get above that $80 mark. I've got a hell of a prediction for silver. In fact, I am quite sure I know exactly what's going to happen. I've been in silver for almost 20 years. I used to sell it. Buy and sell silver, gold, palladium, platinum, all the precious metals. Back in like 2009 to 2013, that was when I was doing that. Now, I am just a collector. I don't buy and sell it anymore. I mean, I probably should. But I mean, it stayed flat for almost a decade. Stayed in the $30 range, $30, $35. But, you know, in 2013, I was buying and selling a lot. I had pounds of it, right? And it ran up to like almost $50. And that was around the time when everybody was saying silver's going to run to $2,000 an ounce. And while I understood the prediction and why, I did not agree. When it was banging against that $50 wall, that's when I sold everything. And then it dropped down to like $30, $35 for the next decade. I had a couple of friends that thought it was going to go to 2,000 and they were buying at the high. And so they had a lot of silver that they paid high premium for back then, which they probably sold by now. I'm betting they wish they hadn't. But see, that's the thing with silver and gold. It can take all year to play out that Fibonacci pattern. And Fibonacci says that we're going to run up again to about 130, 140 bucks, give or take. And then it's going to drop again. And then it's going to fly to about 200. It'll have another big drop like it did a couple weeks ago. I don't know about you, but I lost my ass on that. But you know, it happens, right? But that could take a year to play out, or more. I mean, I don't think it's going to. I think this year alone, we're going to see that 130. As for when the drop is coming, who knows? But once you see silver run up to about $130, $140 an ounce, you should probably get out of it. They're not financial advice, but you should probably get out of it because it'll end up crashing again. By how much, I do not know. But that's what the Fibs say. I want to place a buy. Wish I had enough for some silver futures right now. What is Ethereum doing? You can get cheap futures on Ethereum. Hey, check it out. The world's most expensive stock at $747,000 a share. How many shares do you own? God. Hey, look at that. Ethereum ran up a little bit there. What's it gonna do next? $1,900. Good luck trying to place a pattern into things. There's so much manipulation right now. You see that RSI? You can jump in before these signals trigger. You see the RSI is flattening. It could continue to go down, but it could also pop up from here. For a, quick little bit. In fact, I do believe I am going to get me some Ethereum future. And see, I'm going against that signal, which is risky, but you see the RSI is popping up a little bit. The RSI, the little purple line, is at 62. That RSI, why it's 62, but on the graph it's right at 40. What? Those numbers don't add up. Oh, that's where my cursor was. So it's technically at 42. So that's not really a good time to buy that, but I could make a quick buck. What is this jerk talking about?
Kind of a rough tape. The company...
No.
That was a big part of their business. But technology, what they call technology, is really ramped in their business at a point at which 5 years ago it was less than 5% of their business. Now it's really approaching, it's about 50% of their revenues right now, and growing at a fantastic clip, growing at almost doubling on a year-over-year basis, crushing Wall Street's estimates, joining the S&P 500. But it really tells us where we are in the world of AI right now. It really shows us that the build out of AI is absolutely happening, and there's questions about what the value of the AI companies is going to be. There's questions about the companies that are borrowing money to do the build out, but there is no question that the money is being spent on the build out right now, and it's to the beneficiary of Comfort Systems with the great ticker FIX.
And Comfort Systems, Corey, who would you consider their kind of primary rivals, and what do they bring to the table that's different?
I think what we see with Comfort Systems is they really are focused on this specific area. So we've got other companies that are doing broader construction of what's happening in a data center, of all the things going into a data center. You've got companies focusing specifically on liquid cooling and sort of more cutting edge things that may or may not be implemented in all these data centers. Of course, we've got the companies we talk about all the time, the NVIDIAs and the sexy chips, and is AMD going to take some of that share, and is Taiwan Semiconductor going to make these chips? But these guys are focused on the kind of boring part of this business that's doing so well and growing so quickly, not just in the number of jobs they're getting, and the way they're able to bid these jobs. They've also seen expanding margins every single quarter for the last few years, and it shows they're able to charge just a little bit more for these deals. What's also interesting for Comfort Systems is they get in and out of these projects quickly. I was going back over their 10Ks. They're what I love it when a company actually files their Q or their K with the results, like every company probably should. And
I'm going to leave you with Bloomberg.
Else, because look, I think most of the Republican Party understands that tariffs are attacks on the American people. You know, there have been significant numbers of Republicans that have voiced their uneasiness with tariffs, or those of them that actually voted against the president in terms of certain recent resolutions on tariffs. But, you know, when it comes to affordability, you know, President Trump will say that prices have come down, inflation has come down, but, you know, the markets sort of say something differently. And so, you know, anecdotally, if you've just been to the grocery store, food prices are certainly up. So, you know, you are going to see statements from the president, from the White House over the next few weeks to try and drive affordability.
Oh,
but it's only
the
going to have
State
so
of the
much
Union is
impact
going
if
to be
they can't get
interesting
the
tomorrow.
policy through, and
We will be live for that.
There's an inflationary aspect from tariffs on the other side as well. It's just one of those situations where, you know, the message is sort of gets muddled.
Look at that crypto.
Are we going to
heat
have
map.
the usual response from the Democrat side once the president gives his State of the Union? I just wonder whether the Democrats have come up with any policy prescriptions or whether it's just going to
NVIDIA
be more,
doing fairly
you
well.
know, whatever
I
they
guess if you
propose
bought
will
right
be
here,
the
you're not
opposite
very
of what
happy.
the president is pitching.
You know,
Well,
it's a
we've
great
got a
question. I mean, Virginia Governor
$270 to
Abigail
$280 price point.
Spanberger is going to be giving
It's a
the
buy
Democratic address
all
just
day.
after the
Not
State of the
financial
Union.
advice.
And this is really going to be indicative, I think, of the 2028 election cycle.
Silver's
Think about
doing
the
all right.
presidency, because
I
there's always
got a
been this
good prediction
discussion amongst
for
the Democratic
Silver.
Party. Is it the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, or is it the moderate wing of the Democratic Party that is really driving the mantra going forward? And we've seen successes from both sides of the party in recent elections. Now, the discussion or the decision to have the Virginia governor come and give the address, I think, is going to lead more towards the moderation side of the
much you
argument.
wanna
But
bet
again, you know, this address
Trump
is really going to dictate, I
will-
think, this
will mention
messaging,
Biden
because right
5
now the
times
Democrats
in his-
going into
in his
the
address. How much you wanna
2026
bet?
elections are essentially running a platform of we aren't President Trump, but they are going to have to come around with a bigger message, I think, going into 2028.
30 seconds left, Nathan. Should we expect anything from this Congress for the remainder of this calendar year?
You know, I think there's still an opportunity for a housing bill to pass. To long story short is I don't think it's all that exciting for the markets. But then there's this idea of a crypto market structure bill passing in April. I'm still at a 60% chance. Gives regulatory clarity for companies like Coinbase and Robinhood, but I don't think it really impacts the underlying Bitcoin or commodities all that much either.
All right, Nathan, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we don't really want them to centralize the decentralized finance. I mean, that's kind of the entire purpose of Bitcoin, right?
Is the build out continuing? I also think that it's interesting to hear what's going to happen in the world of inference.
We will be live
It's
for
a
that.
different issue, but you know, NVIDIA has dominated training, and their chips are so great they can do everything. They can do inference, but they're expensive. They're power hungry, and we've seen other companies come up. There's a company called Positron that is a private company, but one of them invested in and very focused in. They just did a deal 2 weeks ago, announcing that their valuation has gone from in about 2 years from about $100 million in the private markets to over $1 billion because they've got a low power chip that's being used for inference. And the question is whether the high powered chips from NVIDIA that are more expensive to buy and more expensive to run are still going to capture this inference game. I think that there's a place for more competition there for NVIDIA, and we'll be listening as AI goes from training models to using those models in inference, whether NVIDIA is still going to be the go-to chip for that.
Corey, as always, great to have you on the show, my friend. Enjoy the weekend.
Good to see you, bud. Thank you.
I swear, $4.65 trillion, most valuable company in the world. And the CEO always wears the same outfit. $5 trillion. That's insane. That's a lot of cash. I mean, you know, let's understand why, right? They've got their fingers in everything. NVIDIA was first and foremost, before all the latest talk, was known for video cards, and video gamers knew who NVIDIA was. They were keeping them afloat. The AI stuff aside, just in video cards alone, NVIDIA would be a hell of a good company, a very well-performing company, because you got to have those video cards to mine Bitcoin. So everybody mining Bitcoin, they probably bought their video card from NVIDIA. I mean, they make some of the best stuff in the world. And then they're talking about how they're going to continue, and they've got better things up their sleeves. Well, hell yeah, they do. They're the world's most valuable company. Until they're not. I mean, what's the next biggest company? Let's see. Let's go adjust by market cap. Apple's the next biggest company. And they're right behind them. Oh, they're like $750 billion less. God. And of course, Google and Microsoft. Microsoft is not doing so well today. I already had that up. But compared to Apple, yeah, Microsoft, sucking it. And then, of course, compared to Apple, Apple is kicking ass. NVIDIA looks like, it looks like it might have been a bear flag, but I don't know, man. Looks like it might drop a little bit. It looked like it was struggling to get above that 193. A little bit of resistance there. None drawn. But they'll get all that support, bruh. Nvidia's going to be around for a good while. Ouch. Ethereum. Look at that shit. Last night, that was crazy. Absolutely batshit. Coinbase is having some technical difficulties right about now.
Let's turn now to some of today's top trending tickers. We're watching shares of Netflix, Novo Nordisk, and Domino's Pizza. First up, let's take a look at Netflix because the streaming giant is still in that fight to acquire Warner Brothers. But the stock under pressure this morning as Paramount's guidance is expected to increase its offer to acquire Warner Brothers, or hopes to. The 7-day window that Warner Brothers gave Paramount expires today at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, Wedbush analyst Alicia Reese saying she expects volatility in Netflix shares to continue until the April shareholder vote and Netflix's first quarter earnings results. Plus, on top of this, President Trump is calling for Netflix's board member, Susan Rice, to be fired, warning that the streaming giant will pay the consequences if not. Rice, who served under both the Biden and Obama administration, recently said Democrats would push for corporate accountability if they regain power in the November midterm elections. We'll keep a close watch on that stock. But next up, let's take a look at Novo Nordisk. Its next-generation weight loss drug underperformed in a clinical trial compared to the results of a weight loss drug made by rival Eli Lilly. This is yet another setback for the company as it really looks to compete for market share. Keep in mind, Novo Nordisk stock is now trading at the lowest levels since the launch of its very popular weight loss drug back in 2021, that weight loss drug being Wegovy. That stock under pressure, down nearly 16% this morning. Finally, let's take a look at Domino's Pizza. Those shares moving higher after the company posted same-store sales growth in the U.S. that beat Wall Street's expectations for both the fourth quarter and for 2025. Revenue also came in stronger than expected. That was boosted by value, like its quote-unquote best deal ever offering. It also had innovation like its stuffed crust pizza and growth in third-party delivery services like on DoorDash that also boosted revenue for the quarter. Keep in mind, for 2026, the company does expect same-store sales to increase roughly 3% in the U.S. And this really comes as consumers continue to double down on value and price. That stock moving higher, up about 3%. Keep right here on Yahoo Finance. We'll be tracking all the latest market moves throughout the trading session.
Thanks, Brooke. And that does it for Market Catalyst on this snowy Monday in the Northeast United States. We are seeing markets sell off, accelerate to the downside here. The NASDAQ down 1.1%, but the Dow is actually leading declines today. It's down by 1.4%. And we are seeing that software sell off re-accelerate here this morning.
Gotta get me a new drink. Yeah, crypto's in its place right now. Ultra risky to try it if I am. Shall return, maybe.
Welcome to Yahoo Finance's Morning Brief. It is Monday, February 20th. I'm Julie Hyman, and you may see I am not in our studio today. We have an historic blizzard going on in the Northeast, so along with some other 35 million or so Americans, I am stuck under a blizzard warning here. And of course, the Northeast is largely shut down, from modes of public transit to New York City being under an emergency where cars that are non-emergency vehicles are not allowed on the streets. So it's a pretty extraordinary situation. Let's get a check on markets, on futures here as we get underway this morning. Wouldn't be shocking to see lower than typical volumes on this snowy Monday. People, of course, can trade to some extent from home, but nonetheless, a lot of folks not making it into and onto their New York City trading floors this morning. Dow futures indicating a drop of nearly 200 points at the open this morning. S&P futures off 1/3%. NASDAQ 100 futures indicating a drop of 0.5%. All of this having to do with the Supreme Court's overruling of President Trump's authority to impose tariffs under IEEPA. Over the weekend, of course, he said, well, let's do 10% universal tariffs. Then he said, well, never mind, let's do 15% universal tariffs under other statutes. So there is renewed confusion over what this affects, who it affects, how companies are going to deal with it. We're going to talk much more about this in just a moment. But first, I do want to talk a little bit more about the storm that we are seeing and the effect that it is having, in particular on travel. Of course, it's affecting flights up and down the East Coast and across the country because of the ripple effect. 13,000 flights and counting are either delayed or canceled, particularly here in the New York area. 2/3 of flights out of JFK and LaGuardia were canceled yesterday. And of course, there's going to be more here on Monday it is still snowing. We've got at least a foot of snow, and it is still snowing. And of course, the National Weather Service has said that travel is dangerous because of reduced visibility. Not only is there a lot of snow, there are heavy wind gusts, so that is affecting visibility as well. Airlines are basically waiving change and cancellation fees right now. And the last time that we saw a big storm, which was Fern, we saw a hit to some of these companies' bottom lines. For example, for American Airlines, the storm cost $150 to $200 million in revenue. So we'll be looking for any kind of material impacts. And you tend to see a wider economic impact as well, although some of that is displacement. In other words, some of it is money not spent today that does get spent tomorrow, but I'm not having lunch, my typical salad in the city today, and that is not revenue that is coming back for the salad joint. So there are effects on airlines, and there are effects, of course, throughout the economy as well. Let's get to the big tariff story that we have been watching throughout the weekend. President Trump's tariff authority, as I mentioned, thrown out by the Supreme Court, but he has stepped in immediately and said, well, we're going to impose 15% tariffs universally. Our Washington correspondent, Ben Worschel, is joining me now to talk more about all of this. So, Ben, as I mentioned, there's still a good deal of confusion here about what happens now. This new tariff authority, as I understand it, lasts for 150 days under these other sections, these other statutes that the president is using. So what do we need to know about that and what these tariffs look like?
Yeah, so you're right, Julie. This 15% tariff that Trump announced over the weekend has a time limit here of 150 days. That gives us sort of until late July, where this new blanket rate of 15% will be in effect. It actually doesn't formally go in effect till tomorrow, so it's from the 24th of this month until July 24th, where this new rate will be. It's a new kind of one-size-fits-all approach from Trump to kind of replace these varied emergency tariffs that were struck down last week, and have created some clear winners and losers among at the national level. But the overall direction here is a tick downward. The estimates here are that these new 15% tariffs will bring in about 70% of the revenue that the IEEPA tariffs, the ones that were struck down, would have brought in over this 150-day span. That's according to the Tax Foundation. And in an overall rate here, going from 16% to 13.7% once these new tariffs are in effect. So a slight downtick, but there's a bunch of countries, especially in Europe, I would note, that are protesting because they're kind of losers in this, and they could see their rates increase.
Yeah, let's go back to Bloomberg.
They downgraded the stock to hold, to underperform, from hold. So essentially, the analysts over there are saying that they've turned bearish on the company. They're saying that this is after shares have rallied to an all-time high. They're saying that the stock is pricing in a rebound in the farm economy that appears, quote unquote, elusive. And a downturn should reach its worst point this year. But the analyst does say that troughs have lasted years in the past and farmers face high costs and a volatile trade environment.
Stock put 40% year to date, so taking profits. Okay, not bad.
Clearly so, yeah. Okay. Also, moving over into the residential space, I've got my eyes on Veris Residential. This is a real estate investment trust, about $1.7 billion in market cap, focuses on multifamily properties. This company earlier hitting it, or seeing its best day since July, and this is after it said it will be acquired by an investor consortium led by Affinius Capital in a partnership with Vista Hill Partners. This is an all-cash transaction for $19 per share. So currently seeing shares of VRE on the rise, up for double-digit gains right now.
All right, let's stick with the upward trajectory of individual stocks. You're also looking at a biotech name.
Very small name. There's so many biotechs out there. This one is about $59.1 million in market cap, but it's making some really big moves today because we saw the stock has really been in focus earlier, surging as much as 45%. This is after the U.S. FDA approved the firm's oral medication for treating manic or mixed episodes in bipolar 1 disorder and schizophrenia in adults. So clearly the street is liking this. We're seeing shares up right now, up about 40% as we speak.
This is Vanda, right?
Vanda Pharmaceuticals, VNDA.
Got it. All right. Nora, thank you so much. Nora Melinda is our Bloomberg Television markets correspondent. And of course, for more conversations like this, subscribe to our Stock Movers reports. You can listen for 5-minute audio reports on the biggest winners and losers in the stock market. Check it out. Stock Movers, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen. All right. This storm, I think we're all over winter at this point.
Yes.
Paul is ready for the spring. So is John Tucker. I am as well. Rob Carolyn, our Bloomberg meteorologist, is on standby where he's been all weekend checking out the latest trajectory of the storm. Rob, are we pretty much done with the snowfall, or is there still more to come in the greater?
I'm in South Carolina. Yesterday it was like 75 degrees, and then bang, it dropped to like 40-something in just an hour or two. So we're feeling it down here, but nowhere near as bad as it is up in New York, though. That's for sure. I feel for those people.
Around the time the blizzard warning comes to an end, eastern central Long Island out into...
What do you guys think of Mamdani?
Talking about this.
Put in the comments what you think about his policies. Have you seen my video about New York?
Between 2 and 5 inches an hour. I'm seeing totals now east of Islip, Long Island, at around 27, 28 inches of snow. We've seen Providence, Rhode Island, at 2 feet of snow this morning. And it looks like they may rival their all-time heaviest snowfall with a blizzard of 78. They may get over 28 inches of snow from this storm.
Wow. So, I mean, this storm, is it technically a nor'easter here? Because I'm looking at some of the radar.
It is.
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah,
it is. It is the classic nor'easter. It's the central pressure has dropped 41.
As interesting as that is, we must move on. This is for stocks.
Try to get as much as they can through legal means here.
Ben, thanks so much. Appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to talk about another big issue that is that the U.S. is going to be striking Iran. We'll talk about that and the effect on the energy market.
I saw a whole bunch of great memes on Facebook. There are like AI videos of bombers and stealth bombers and whatnot flying, and they took the Beach Boys song Barbara Ann and they changed it to bomb, 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 Iran. Love it. It's hilarious. I mean, in my opinion, yes. We should bomb the hell out of the entire Middle East.
Right. And I guess what makes this storm different from the one that we saw in late
still
January
talking about a
was we
storm
didn't
on
have the
Bloomberg. We're
winds.
talking about stocks, guys. CNBC
But there is definitely an inflection point in market that is giving people pause.
Meantime, the Journal today with a tough take on Meta's balance sheet. There have been some in the market alley who argue that maybe the healthiest thing for tech would be for one hyperscaler to come out and say, you know what, guys, we're back to focusing on cash flow. Although at the moment, there's no sign that that's about to happen.
Ultimately, I think that the path forward in the steady state is going to involve use of cash flow, relationships and financing in the private markets between companies, and the public debt markets. There has yet...
Facebook and Threads is a very similar. It's just an echo chamber of stupidity. If you don't get your news from any social media sites,
of the hyperscalers or...
Don't get it from mainstream media either. You know, you really got to take in all of the sources you can find to get a clear picture of any news like these days, especially American media. So propagandized, it's unreal.
I'm not that worried about that over the long term. Obviously, we're all looking for excess. We're all pointing to...
And I'm talking, like, when I say propagandized, I'm not just harping on mainstream media being liberal, which they do lean liberal, but I mean, even Fox News. The thing about mainstream media is they're all full of propaganda. All of them. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you sit on. The thing is, though, is whenever a Republican is in office, you can more or less trust the right-leaning news sources versus the left. But when a Democrat is in office, you can pretty much rely on the liberal side of the media. And Fox News is the one that'll kick up their propaganda. They all lie. They all exaggerate. Just depends on who's in office. If there's a Republican in office, you can pretty much trust something like Fox News. I think they learned their lesson on that. There was some particular news story that people still blame them for and still love to call Fox News all BS, which, come on, that's an overgeneralization, and we all know it. But yeah, you should really take in as many news sources as you can. And luckily we have places like YouTube and Rumble and other video sites where people, the regular guy, can get online and deliver various opinions. But your best bet to get a clear picture is you take it all in and then find the common denominators and extrapolate from that. Because you just can't trust many news sources at all. You just can't. Because they're all full of shit at some point. So, who's got some stock symbols they want me to check out? Nvidia is looking like a short. Got a short signal now. Well, it's right where it was at opening. Was there some news that I missed?
To some tariffs that I've paid. How do I do that?
So normally what you do is what happens is the goods come in, you estimate what you think you owe. The Customs Border Protection Agency decides whether that's correct. That's called liquidation. If that amount is finalized and it liquidates, you have 180 days to protest what the Customs Agency says you owe. So that's normally how you get a refund. You file a protest. And they think that that might be the procedure used here, but nobody really knows because this has never happened before.
Yeah, when it comes to those refunds, all the tariff money that was taken in, yeah, the major corporations are going to get those refunds. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's how it would be built. Because, look, whether you're for Trump's tariffs or not, the truth of the matter is we pay out 6 times more than the world takes in. Excuse me, I misspoke. We pay out 6 times more than we receive. When we account, the United States accounts for a quarter of the entire world's GDP, yet we take in a sixth. I guess that doesn't make any sense. We should be charging more. People and American companies should be buying American. But we've just had it built into our system for so long to buy, foreign goods that this is a shock to the system. And yes, it'll make prices go up because corporations aren't about to lose any money. They're going to pass any expense on down to you. And if they get refunds from the federal government for this tariff situation, do you really think they're going to pass that down to you? Hell no. Major corporations will pocket that money. So should the federal government refund it to the citizens? Probably. But they're probably not going to. It's probably going to go right back to the corporations who are going to laugh in your face and keep the prices of their goods right where they're at, even though they're making a profit. It's going to affect their bottom line, and they will not pass that on to the consumer. I would prefer if they refunded Americans, but do I think that's going to happen? No, hell no. I mean, I'd love to eat my words. Bring it on.
So any tariff that is imposed via this statute are probably going to be struck. So tariffs on India and Brazil are going to be struck. And what they said was a tariff is a tax. And so only Congress has the power to tax. And if they are going to delegate that power, they have to be very, very clear when they do that. And, using this vague language in the statute, wasn't enough. And so I think that was very interesting. They did talk about other tariffing powers he has. So it may be the case that, and we think that those tariffing powers rest on, better legal footing. So the challenges will be harder.
Look, the truth of the matter is we pay out 6 times more than the world pays us. Yet we account for a quarter of the entire world's GDP. We should be having some tariffs. Come on. It's a shock to the system because we're so used to buying foreign goods. We should be buying American. We should keep our money in our country. Because, the rest of the world will just take advantage of that. And that was Trump's entire thing. Now, is it right or wrong? Well, that's not the purpose of me bringing it up. The purpose of me bringing it up is you need some sort of equilibrium. Again, is it right or wrong? Ethereum struggling to come up. Silver looks like it wants to test that $80 again. Come on. Nvidia had a great start, but now struggling to get above basically the open, which doesn't bode well for my my Nvidia calls. That new price point, that sure would be nice if it would hurry up and get up there. That's roughly another $100. Whew. I think they estimated that to be by the end of the year. Look at the crypto heat map. I mean, look at that. That looks like some interstellar shit. Insane. Crypto market is sucking it. Looks like the stock market, by and large, is sucking it too. Health industry looks like the biggest wiener of the day so far. Here it is, almost 11:30. Man, time flies when you're having fun. Dow Jones is down. S&P is down. NASDAQ down. Let's see what the old NASDAQ. Yeah. What? I get so much spam, it's ridiculous. Come on, Ethereum. I bought a short just a little while ago. Come on, go back down. Overall, I don't like shorting crypto because I have some holdings that, yeah, pretty sure I bought in around 91. So, you know, overall, I would love for it to fly back up. I'd love it to double. That would be nice. Go back to where we were and then some. But I'm pretty sure we're in a bear market now. It might be another 3 or 4 years before we see Bitcoin recover.
It's now up to special committees such as House.
Coming into the start of the year.
Yahoo. Oil prices.
Rebecca, it's always great to get your perspective. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, crypto continues its volatile run, of course. The industry awaiting progress on the legislative front with the Clarity Act. But Yahoo Finance's Josh Lipton talked to Brian Dobson, Clear Street senior research analyst, about potential opportunity in digital assets, particularly on the infrastructure side.
We're going to start here on Bitcoin. We're hovering just around 67,000. Maybe get your thoughts there. Like, what explains that, Brian? Sentiment? Is it fundamentals, macro, a mix?
Well, sentiment's turned decidedly risk off, and there's been a lot of fear entering the market, right? You know, I think Bitcoin specifically certainly trades closer to AI and tech names today than it did, you know, a year ago or 2 years ago. And in addition to that risk-off rotation, you're also seeing a lot of people who were playing Bitcoin for, call it the play against fiat currency, instead enter trades in gold and silver, which have been very popular over the past, 3 to 6 months. So I think that that's putting some pressure. That incremental buyer isn't there, and the shorts are having a field day going.
Do you see catalysts then ahead on the radar next 6 months, next 12 months?
You know, I think the catalysts ahead of Bitcoin are the catalysts ahead of tech, and call it like disruptive tech in general, which is that, over the course of the next 2 earnings periods, you're going to see some reassurance from management teams about demand for AI infrastructure, about demand for technology, and I think you're also going to hear corporations talking about how they've levered technology and AI to make themselves more profitable going forward, and then you'll see a return of the risk-on trade. When specifically that will happen, I'm not sure, but I would expect more positive data points over the course of the next 6 months.
You might have thoughts on this. Sometimes you'll hear Bitcoin skeptics, and they'll say, listen, if you want to trade Bitcoin, hey, it's your money, knock yourself out, man. But they'll say, just realize, this is how they'll put it, they'll say, there's no actual investment merit here. They'll say there's no sales, there's no cash flow, it doesn't play any kind of meaningful role in the economy. What do you think about that argument?
I mean, my response to that is that call it all real money, right? Yeah. Be it gold or other, long-standing terms of real non-fiat money are valuable because people have gotten together and decided they are valuable at a psychological level, right? And you're seeing that forming around Bitcoin, right? And certainly the coin has been around for a long time. Now, I do think that there are miles and miles of lesser coin that will be washed out as the sector evolves. But Bitcoin will be here to stay through time.
Let's get to some themes you point out, because I like these. Crypto, you say, is becoming financial infrastructure. What does that mean in plain English? Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, that's right. It's not just Bitcoin when you think about crypto. It's also stablecoin and other forms of transactional crypto coin. So these crypto coins have significantly better settlement times than traditional money transfers, and they allow people to store wealth, to move wealth, and to track it very, very specifically on the blockchain. So from my point of view, the adoption of crypto assets, stablecoin and Bitcoin, is accelerating. You're seeing more corporations use it, and you're seeing more financial institutions build out the plumbing to facilitate those types of transactions.
Let's talk about some names you like, ways to play the thing. Bitco, you say, is a buy. Now, this one's interesting, Brian, okay, because you look at this stock, we're down about 40% from its opening day close. I guess, why are we down 40%? Explain that, and then walk us through, okay, why you say, you know what, that's actually an opportunity.
Yeah, so I think that sell-off is largely overdone. The stock's down about 40% since it came out. The NASDAQ's...
Look, you want to know something? In Iran, you know how much it costs to mine 1 Bitcoin in Iran? I forget the exact figure. But it's less than $10,000. It's less than $5,000. I want to say it's 1 or 2, somewhere in there. $1,000 or 2 to mine 1 whole Bitcoin in Iran. Think about that. Makes you want to move to Iran and bust open a crypto mining operation, right? But that's how Iran is going to get rich. Because, I mean, bull market or bear market, as far as what crypto is doing now, that's a hell of a return on investment. That's ridiculous. I mean, if you could mine a Bitcoin for $10,000 and sell it now, even if Bitcoin goes down to $20,000, if it costs $5,000 to mine, you're hand over fist. Iran is going to get rich because of that. You need to watch out. I got this Ethereum up because I have some futures shorts I got going on. Look at that market. That is a bear market. Nvidia gave up every bit of its gains it made this morning. Silver looks like it's struggling to break above that 80, which I have a prediction for. Meta sucking it. Funny how similar Meta looks to Ethereum as far as just, right here today. Mission Possible, the most gaining coin of the day. 400%. It just beat out BB because BB was the number 1 earlier this morning. Netflix tokenized stock up 73%. Nice. More and more companies are starting to do this. They're starting to tokenize their stock. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Those are probably great buys. Not financial advice. Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran. Hilarious. What is Bloomberg up to?
Federal Reserve having to hike rates. Do you agree with that?
Well, the FOMC minutes suggested that a number of members of the committee feel that way, that there is at least some prospect that hikes could be warranted. A little surprising, I have to admit, given that inflation is well off the boil, but it's still much higher, meaningfully higher than the Fed's 2% target. I imagine those FOMC members, and Torsten Slok is focusing on this as well, is to the degree that the Fed has completely embraced a 2% inflation target. The fact that we don't seem to be getting back down there, and it's not clear if we will anytime soon, makes it hard for the Fed to continue in an easing path, especially if the economy is holding up reasonably well. Unemployment most recently has ticked down. Job creation was a worry a number of months ago. Seems to be picking back up. So maybe that some on the FOMC want to have more of a symmetric view in terms of where's the next change in target rates. Right. I still think the market's not going to embrace that view just yet. I think Kevin Warsh coming in, he's apt to be dovish. That's partly why Trump picked him, although he's a complicated candidate for the Fed chair because he doesn't like the big balance sheet. I don't think we're going to see a hike anytime too soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if the talk about hiking that we saw in the minutes or that Torsten Slok mentioned eventually sort of fades away.
Red headline crossing the Bloomberg terminal. PayPal is said to attract takeover interest after stock slump. The stock trading is halted. The stock's up 3.5% today, but it is down about 43% over the trailing 12 months. So we'll keep an eye on that, have any further reporting there. We're joined by RJ Gallo, Deputy CIO, Global Fixed Income Group at Federated Hermes. RJ, talk to us about the municipal bond market. It seems like I'm hearing more and more about that over the last, 6 months or so, about as a good place to really see some relative value.
Well, the muni market staged a pretty solid second half last year. The market itself had been rocked really by a lot of the policy uncertainty that existed before we knew what the one big beautiful bill looked like. Ultimately, that didn't do anything negative to munis. It didn't somehow curtail the tax exemption on municipal bond interest, and that was a relief to the market.
The names he comes up with things are so basic. Big beautiful bill. Well, this sure has been fun. Well, 9 people from... Go back to Bloomberg.
Rated Hermes. One of the big gainers in today's trade, or maybe big is an overstatement, but given that we're seeing sizable losses in the equity indexes, I'd say a 2.4% move higher is kind of big, right? Yep. Domino's Pizza, DPZ is the ticker, moving higher today. The company reported a bigger than expected rise in comparable sales. So let's bring in Michael Halen. He is our senior restaurant and food service analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. And Michael, Domino's provides a lot of value to people. You see those ads for buy one, get one free. And they've added stuffed pizza crust to their repertoire. So people are getting value and they're getting something, I guess, in terms of food value as well. Talk to us about Domino's Pizza and the strategy here.
Domino's Pizza has a crazy success story.
Yeah, so to your point, they are outperforming the market pretty handily today. It was a pretty solid report. Same store sales topped expectations. They're doing it with a few different things. Yes, the food innovation, stuffed crust isn't groundbreaking, but it's something that their national competitors had already offered, right? And so they're trying to take a piece of that market here in the U.S. Value, to your point, right? They're number one pizza player here in the United States. They have more stores than anyone else, and they have that scale. So they are able to offer price points that their competitors really can't match and keep it profitable for the franchisees. And then another big part of the strategy here has been the DoorDash and Uber Eats expansion, right? So they're still delivering the food themselves, but they're posting their food on the third-party aggregator sites, and that's been a big boost to their business as well.
What's the difference in economics, Mike, to using one of their own drivers versus a third party like a DoorDash?
Yeah, it's a big difference, Paul. It probably costs a big player like Domino's. It would probably, for them to deliver it themselves, it probably costs them half of what it would cost, maybe even less than half of what it would cost. So it makes a huge difference on the delivery economics. So for the chains that already have a delivery network like Domino's, it's really a no-brainer.
One thing that Domino's did over the last quarter was make more money by selling more food to its stores, charging higher prices for ingredients, collecting more fees from the franchise operators for advertising and royalties. That's good for the bottom line, but does it sour relationships with franchise operators? I mean, how does Domino's manage that going forward?
Yeah, that's a good question, Scarlett. Franchisee relationships is crucial in this business because they're going to be the ones, forking up the capital to build new stores, right? So you want to keep them happy with strong same-store sales. 3% plus, almost 4% gain keeps them happy. In terms of the supply chain, so Domino's owns the supply chain. They want to make sure that their franchisees aren't skimping on quality, right? And so what they do to make this palatable for their franchisees is they actually split the revenues on a monthly basis via checks with their franchisees, right? And so, yes, prices are going up, expected to go up low single digits this year for commodities and in the supply chain, right? But they give back half of that, half of their profit increase back to their franchisees in a sharing agreement.
All right, Mike, thanks so much for joining us. As always, our go-to voice on all things in the restaurant business. Mike Kalin covers the restaurants for Bloomberg Intelligence. I guess, most of the world probably doesn't have what we consider to be great pizza like we have around here.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Philadelphia, and of course, New Haven, in the Northeast generally defined. So Domino's is a totally viable option. It was when I was in school in Virginia, school in North Carolina.
It's real pizza for much of the nation. It's just not real pizza for those of us in certain parts of the Northeast.
Easy. I've been down this road.
Okay.
Very controversial.
All right.
What about famous arrays, original?
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many of those. I don't think any of them
But
are
I'll tell you what
original.
we're not seeing today is those delivery dudes in New York City on their bikes flying all around the city.
Yeah,
they're
a little constrained
snowed
at the
in
moment.
at the moment. So, but I'm sure they'll be out there tomorrow. We're going to have more coming up. This is Bloomberg. Good morning.
had to go out for a smoke break. Domino's Pizza. They were in the news a minute ago. It looks like silver is trying to hit that $80 mark. I've got a prediction for silver. You should look at the Fibonacci's. Fibonacci's say that silver will run up to about $130, $140. But once it gets up into that range, you can expect it to crash again, like it did recently. And then after that, it's going to run up to over $200. Now, how long is that going to take? Who knows? It could happen tomorrow. It could take all year. It could take 5 years. Silver tends to move slow. As long as Trump keeps up what he's doing, though, it'll stay bouncing around like this. Here's our heat map for the day. Everything looks mostly red. Crypto heat map looks horrible. Pretty sure we're definitely in a bear market. Anybody who says otherwise, that's wishful thinking, homie. Just take a look. NVIDIA looks like it's trying to get back up above its start for the day. That looks like a little bit of a flag, but that new price point that was set for what, 278, I think it was, 270, 280. I sure wish that would come now. That would do wonders for my calls. What do you have? Do you have any NVIDIA? Why don't you tell us how many shares of Berkshire Hathaway you have? How many shares do you have? At 750,000. That's not the one. That's not right. Berkshire Hathaway. Yeah, that's not the right one. You got to see this. This is wild. The highest priced stock in the world, Berkshire Hathaway, sitting at $742,000 per share. How many shares do you own? Look at this ridiculous chart. Yeah, don't pay attention to these trading signals on everything. Like I could pull up crypto market cap, like the entire market cap of all the crypto space, and there will be buy and sell signals on it. It's just because I have it on for everything. But you can't, I don't think you can trade the entire market cap of Bitcoin or crypto. Silver's struggling to get above that $80 mark. NVIDIA. Anybody got any stocks they'd like for me to take a look at? Apple's the second biggest gainer of the day. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple's doing great, as usual. Now, versus Microsoft. Microsoft is dying. I mean, just look at them compared to Apple. Apple is up 0.75%. Microsoft is down almost 3%. Look at that. Bill Gates has pretty much trashed his reputation by doing ridiculous shit. I don't even want to speculate on that, be my guess. There's a lot of BS out there. Alright, well, if nobody else has anything, looks like I'm all alone in here. We will be live again tomorrow for Trump's State of the Union. We'll watch that together, a little reaction video. And, I'll probably be on Market Open until the 26th, because where I'm at, the woman who is kind enough to let me use her internet I did not know was metered, and I kind of blew out her bandwidth. Now I owe her $100. So after the 25th, her cycle rolls over. I don't want to owe any more money, so live streams are going to probably cease for a minute and until I move on to another spot, because I am technically homeless at the moment. So I'm waiting on some cash so I can move on and get out of her hair. But yeah, I don't want to blow her internet out again. So 25th will be the last day that I will do any kind of live streams until I get to somewhere else. Yeah, so pay attention. We'll be back for market stream tomorrow, for market opening tomorrow and the next day. We're going to also do Trump's State of the Union reaction. NVIDIA has earnings on Wednesday, so I would love to cover that, because I'm pretty sure everybody expects that NVIDIA is going to kill it with their earnings. Yeah, definitely. NVIDIA is such a great company. $5 trillion market cap. The world's most valuable company. Second only to Apple. Apple's like $750 billion behind them. These are the two biggest contenders in the world. Now, if Apple can overtake NVIDIA, which they need another $750 billion injected into their market cap for that to happen. But yeah, I have a bet placed that expires in June. So NVIDIA needs to hang on to it, because I bet on NVIDIA being the world's most valuable company. You know, all of these betting sites that there are. You can place bets on anything. Yeah, am I going to fart 3 times in the day? You can probably bet on it. Yeah, the betting market is getting kind of crazy. Something's got to give. I think we have a huge crash incoming. When? Who knows? What will it bode well for, though? A crash. It could bode well for crypto. It really could. Then again, it could just make crypto eat even more shit than it has. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Love you guys. Super grateful. Watch your cash. It's a crazy market right about now. None of this has been financial advice